podcast with Candice Bester. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am a mom of three beautiful children. I'm a qualified teacher. I taught for 18 years in the classroom. And I am super excited to be interviewing another special guest tonight. So, I've been lucky to have two special guests in a row. So, Gillian Leach is the principal of a school in Bryanston called Bryandale Pre-Primary. And I've been working closely with Gillian over the last few months. And I believe that what she's experienced and what I've experienced could really help a lot of people to really shift some of their perspective around raising children. And again, my absolute passion specifically is around their resilience and their grit. So my personal experience of Gillian, I call her Gilly, is she is a very supportive person. Her staff are her everything. She has their best interests at heart. She cares deeply. She has a very high EQ. And then we share some very personal goals. And some of those that I would love to share with you are personal development is very important for us. We believe that growth is a priority in our lives. It's almost like it's not an option. And being the best version of ourselves is what makes us tick. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Jill.
Hello, Candice.
Jill. I'm so excited to have you. I've been counting the sleeps.
Thanks for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
So, Gilly, I just want you to maybe just introduce yourself, if you don't mind, and maybe just share a few things of how we've connected and from your side.
Sure. So, I'm known as Gillian Leach, but a lot of people call me Jill, and lots of people call me Gilly. The challenge with that is that I have to remember what each person calls me, because if I phone and I say, "Hi, this is Jill," and I hear this, "Who's Jill?" then I have to remember, oh, they call me Gillian. But it's lovely to have three names. I have been at Bryandale for 23 years. I can't believe it. And I've been teaching for 35 years. Don't work that out because then it will give my age away. But it's always been my passion. I've loved teaching. I've loved being in the school environment. So, yes, taught for a long time, and then I've been principal of Bryandale Pre-Primary School for 11 years.
Wow, that's a lot of experience under your belt.
Yeah, you look back and you can't believe it. Like, where did those years go? But They've been a good 35 years.
Wow. So we met at a little coffee shop a couple of months ago.
So it's so interesting. As a principal, we get an enormous amount of requests for people with their businesses to come to the school. They're offering all sorts of things to the school. And there's only so many you can interact with. And I always reply and sort of say thanks, but no thanks. And strangely enough, when you contacted me, I don't know why, but I didn't say that. And I ended up meeting you. And I really felt like we just connected straight away. And I think it's because of our backgrounds, because, as you said, we've got shared goals. And I'm always looking at how I can grow myself. There's always a book next to my bed on self-development. I did the Robin Banks Mind Power course, which really got me into growing myself and into the whole concept of this enormous, wonderful gift that we've got inside of ourselves and we don't use. We've got this incredible power, which is our minds. So you and I just connected because obviously you have the same outlook on life. So that was very exciting to me. And then when you told me about grit and the resilience and the value of it for teachers. I just saw it and I wanted it for my teachers. Because I'm so aware of the energy that we put out is definitely, it affects our environment. And we just have this incredible power over what we attract. So I wanted to give that to the teachers. So yeah, and so you came and did the 4-week course. The one night we even had load shedding, and we sat there with candles, and it was cold. We were all wrapped up in blankets, but we still did it, and it was most worthwhile. And thank you so much, Candace, for what you gave to us.
Absolutely. So Julie, if I can just say, like, you are one of my biggest gifts, because you really started on the whole road of my training. You were one of the very first group of teachers that I trained. And obviously with training, as much as what you guys learn, I learn just as much. So I want to thank you for, saying your yes, finding the budgets, and just making sure that it happened, because it really has impacted my life. But I would like to ask you, so there's 2 elements to this. The one is the teachers, and then I would love to discuss the children. So there would have been certain things that have stood out for you as almost tangible results after we've done the training. Maybe it was earlier on in the training, but if you can just share for the people that are listening exactly what benefit you saw personally from your perspective from training the teachers. And remember, for the people that are listening, that this is very much about your own personal development. So the first 3 modules is very much about making yourself your own pillar of strength, specific tools to be able to cope with everyday life, instead of trying to change the world around us. When we change the stuff inside, the outside stuff shifts. So can we start with the teachers, and if you can just give some tangible results?
Sure. I think, what was really valuable in it is that we learned about each other, but on a deeper level, without it getting too personal. There were never really awkward moments, which was good. But in learning to understand and know each other, we know where each person's coming from. It gives us a deeper understanding of what that person feels, what triggers that person, why they react like that. And in that, you are more understanding, and I guess able to be compassionate, which is a good thing, and in the end to be kind. And I think in today's world, with what everyone's going through, we really need to be kind to each other instead of judging. But when you understand where someone's coming from, it's much easier not to judge. It's easier just to understand and be kind to that person. So to me, that was a big value. What I loved about your workshops was that some of it was quite intense. We've got to look at just deeply inside yourself. But there were those light moments in between, and you would break it and bring in a game. And that was lovely, because laughter also unites a team, and to play together unites you, and we just have fun and laugh. So I love that in between. That was very valuable. So valuable that we've actually played your games at school, because we love playing. So that was good. Also to see people's results that they could feel in their classroom, just from their change in their thinking pattern and their attitude, and how that whatever we're thinking, we attract. So if you're going into the classroom feeling more positive and saying positive things and doing positive things, that then attracts back to us. And I believe that they felt that.
One of the things I remember, and while we were busy on that course, was one of the things that really stood out for me was that there were certain teachers, and this is the complete norm when it comes to teaching. I think every single teacher that ever taught or still teaches has this, that they felt that the kids that they were bumping heads with, and the kids that the challenging children, and the classes that were more busy and active and kind of like really just more challenging, really just like weren't an issue anymore. And there was nothing that the kids were doing different. It was that the teacher was shifting, and then they were coming into the space and they were bonding with these kids. And they were like, wow, that's kind of like magic.
Yeah, and I think that's, what's so powerful is that law of attraction. And I think if you experience it, it is a wow, because there's a part of you that can't believe it. Really, is it that's...
Yeah, and I think I even brought this up in last week's podcast, but I think I could reiterate it, is I know that when I was a teacher and I walked into the classroom, if my energy was off, the whole day went south. And ultimately, that wasn't the kids, it was me. It was my energy.
This amazing episode. When it works.
You know what? This is all about rolling with the punches, and this is what grit is all about, isn't it? We have absolutely no control. We have no control over the internet. No. So now we can choose how to respond.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jill. We were busy speaking about the teachers, and you said how the energy in the classroom is such a big thing because they attract it. And that was a very big thing that they noticed when they did the training. But now my absolute passion, the children. So this whole grit program is a very different way of thinking. It really is completely opposite to how we were raised. And when I say completely opposite, when I started to implement this into my own classroom over the last 2 years, I felt like a rebellious teenager who was literally going against everything I'd ever been taught when I was training to be a teacher and everything my parents had done. But when I saw the results, I realized that this is something that needs to get out there. And my theme is empower, empower, empower. We need to empower those children to be able to deal with their own stuff. And the problem is what do we do as parents? We rescue. And again, I want to say I'm not the perfect parent. I did all the wrong things for all the longest time, and I still do. But I have realized that when my daughter comes home from school and she's got this longest story of all these horrible things that have happened, I want to go and fight with the principal. I want to go and fight with the teacher. But that's not giving her any skills, because guess what? It's going to happen next year and the following year if I don't equip her. So having said that, the very last module of the Grit Training for Teachers is all about taking this into the classroom. And that is, as much as what I love the teachers because they impact the kids, when it comes to the kids, it's a whole new level of passion for me. So your personal experience when we were having coffee the other day, you shared some beautiful examples of things that you as the principal have done. Now remember, you as the principal are in such a powerful position, because when the teachers aren't coping with the child comes to you. So ultimately, you are the teacher, you're the parent, you're the caregiver, you're everything. So I would love you to share some of those examples with us.
Yeah, I think I find this very exciting, even more exciting than the changes in the teachers. Because to just see how it empowers children is just wonderful, and it's very satisfying. So you're right. We tend to want to rescue children. As teachers, we want all our children to be happy, and we want to make it right for them. We want to make it easy for them, and we want to fix it. So we help them in their difficult situations. What ends up happening is that you have the tattletales all day long, which eventually can drive you crazy. And so my feeling is that the more you empower the children to be able to resolve these conflicts themselves, the easier it is for us as adults, because they come to you less often, because they're able to resolve it themselves. And I just think that is so empowering for a child to know, I'm in control of this and I can solve this problem. How wonderful. So just to share one story. Every Friday at our school, our grade R's wear their school uniform to school. And one little boy, I stand at the gate and I greet every child. And if I see a child arrived and they're not happy, I walk with them and chat and just try and find out what's made them unhappy that morning. And this little boy was very upset. So I walked with him, and it turned out that he said he doesn't like to wear his school uniform because the other children are going to laugh at him because they say that his pants look funny. And our front entrance has one of those one-way glasses, so it's like a mirror. So I stopped him in front of the mirror and I said, so just look in that mirror and you wearing your school uniform. And I'm looking at your pants, and am I laughing? And he looked at me and he said, no. So I said, well, you look at your pants and tell me, are they funny? And he said, no. So I said, so when the children laugh at you, are they actually right? Because are they funny? And he said, no. So I said, when I look at that boy in that mirror with his school uniform, I said, I see a very handsome boy and a model brown Dalian. And he stood a bit taller and he looked, and I said, what do you see in that mirror? And he looked and he said, I see a smart boy.
That so is so beautiful.
So if anybody laughs at you today, are you going to believe them? And he said, no. I said, so what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to walk away. And he didn't even want me to walk further with him. He just waltzed off. I saw him at the end of the day and I looked at him and I said, how was your day? And he actually gave me a thumbs up. And I said to him, did anybody laugh at you today? And he said, no. And I just looked at him and I said, that's the power you've got inside you. And he said, yes, I was thinking I'm a smart boy.
Oh, Jill, that's such a beautiful
when I tell that story, I get goosebumps. Because if I had taken him into my office and sat and chatted to him and said, no, you're a good-looking boy, don't believe them, it doesn't work. That child has to believe it himself. And I firmly believe that when he believes it, that's the energy he's giving out. And it's actually amazing that nobody did laugh, which is just wonderful.
Magic.
Yeah,
Magic.
It is magic. It is. Yeah.
And that's exactly, that's an epic example of how the power of this stuff. For forevermore, people can laugh at him, but it's not going to land. He has a new skill that he will use for forevermore. Let's be honest, there are always going to be people that point fingers and laugh.
Absolutely.
And now he has a skill to deal with that, and he can choose what he's going to believe, and they can say what they want, but it just won't affect him if that didn't happen. And again, I believe that our sole purpose as teachers, parents, anything to do with children, our sole purpose is to guide them and to love them and to show them. And it's not to solve their problems for them, and it's definitely not to give them the answers. If we give them the answers, they don't land. If we give them the answers, it doesn't resonate for them. They think, oh, she's just saying that because she wants me to feel better. But when they have raw evidence, they're like, okay, maybe that's not true. And again, it's something that's been implanted and it's in the wiring of their brain for forevermore. I had a very similar example as a teacher. I had this child who, I mean, this is a very, very regular occurrence when you're a grade 1 teacher. He called me stupid, or she said I'm a
yes.
So the one day I just called the child and I said, what did he say? And then she said, he called me stupid. So the whole thing with grit is you actually take the focus away from the perpetrator. I say that because that's what we kind of see them as. And we don't tell them. Now, a good teacher would go, you know what? Use your words kindly. Think about what you say, because once you've said it, you can't take it back. But I give that person no attention, and I turn to the child and I go, he called you what? And then she says, he called me stupid. And then I say, are you stupid? And then they generally don't know how to answer because they've been so stumped. And then now the next part is you need to give them raw evidence to prove that it isn't true. So I say, quickly go fetch me your book. And then I found a really like cool page, like where everything's pretty much like all together. And I say, right, does this look like the work of a child who could possibly be stupid? And then the little shoulders go back and the smile comes on the face. And it's like, so is it true that you're stupid? No. In that moment, the child who called them stupid is sitting there thinking, oh, I think I need to think about that before I say it. The other thing that we do as parents is we teach our kids to fight back exactly the same way. And in my opinion, that's how wars are started. So when somebody hits you, just hit them back. When somebody says something mean, just be mean back. And I really, really look at this and I think, what are you teaching our children? Like, what are we doing? Are we empowering them or are we disempowering them? So
I think we're disempowering them because they're going to feel bad about themselves. Exactly. As soon as you're nasty, you do feel bad about yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. So it is such a difficult, it's not difficult, but it's a mindset shift that when our children come home and they tell us about their day and there was things around the teacher or there was things around the children, it is not helpful to go and try to sort the teacher or the other child out. For us to give the kids the skill is far, far more important. So I recently had a few encounters with teachers who teach a bit of older children as well, because we've been speaking about the younger children. But I think this is very valuable because when a child in their teens feels safe, they do open up to the people who they feel safe around. And often it isn't a parent, it's a teacher. So when a child comes to you and opens up to you about the parent, your immediate reaction is, I'm going to call this parent in and tell them what they're doing is totally wrong. But again, it's the same repetitive cycle. So what do? The exact same process. You say to the child, how does that make you feel? And again, they say, like they're stumped because they don't really know. And then you say, okay, so when your mother ignores you because she's busy or whatever that looks like, how do you feel? And then the child goes, I feel unimportant or I feel unheard. But again, it comes from them. We're not feeding them with stuff. We're not putting things in their heads and trying to understand them. It's coming from them. And then you say, well, are you unimportant? Or are you not loved? No, it's not true. Well, this is what I see. You can even tell them some of the things you've seen in them and that kind of thing. And it really is to just build their self-esteem and their self-worth. And, you know, this is when I start training with teachers, this is a big thing that I bump against. And it's because it's so different to the way that we were raised. I did mention that earlier, but I want to just completely reiterate that. This came from a space of doing coaching individually and in groups with adults in their 40s and their 50s and even their late 50s. And there was a common thread. And the common thread was low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-confidence. And if I had to ask you on a personal level, if you have to think of people that you know, people that are dear to you, how many people are either suffering from depression, anxiety, rely on alcohol, some kind of a drug to be able to numb or to cope because they just don't feel good enough. So if we want our children to feel good enough, and if we want them to become adults who believe in themselves and don't rely on these things, we have to start to empower them. But that comes with another complicated thing. And that is relinquishing a bit of the control that we feel we have to have as adults. Because what happens, can I ask from your personal experience, when you go into a child's environment and you have this controlling thing going on, what is happening to the child? What is the detriment? What is the damage that is being caused?
They disempowered, and they are taught to just rely on the adult rather than actually trying to find a solution themselves. And so I think then your self-belief is that I can't do it. Someone else is going to do it for me. They'll solve it for me. So I think then they don't even try, because they know that someone else is going to do it for them. But that's not great for the self-esteem and their self-belief. And I think it's years and years of chipping away at that, that eventually you believe, I can't. This is the way I am.
So we are born as human beings, we are born with two fears. One is the fear of falling, and the other one is the fear of loud noises. And we are born believing that anything is possible and that there really are no limits. And then slowly but surely we get told, no, 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 no. Don't do this. Don't act like this. Don't speak like that. Don't. And eventually we start to believe that we can't do the things that we're capable of. And that's what starts to erode at our self-esteem. And this is something that I only share when I'm feeling really brave. So I must be feeling really brave tonight. But when people hear this, they want to cringe. But I believe that this is very, very beneficial. When my eldest turned 1, I went on a life-changing weekend, and we decided as his parents that we were not going to have consequences in the house anymore. So we took away consequences. And so it wasn't just smacking. We actually didn't instill timeout. We didn't have take away privileges. We didn't do any of those things. Now, I can imagine that the parents are sitting behind the screen and they're just doing this sound. They're like, Candace, you cuckoos, you cuckoos, you cuckoos. And it's because that truly we've been raised that if you don't discipline the child, they're going to become a hooligan. And Candace, I will not have my child rule the roost. I am the boss and I am the parent. And if I do that, I'm going to have a reprobate. This child's going to, and you know what, Jill? It's the complete opposite. So we never instilled a single consequence. And I know I'm a proud mom, but I get this feedback from people who meet my children all the time. I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old who are the most well-behaved, well-mannered, kind, empathetic children. And it's because they were allowed to breathe. They were allowed to breathe, and they were allowed to be their own person. And again, as a parent, we need to set the example. So I was doing all my own self-development, like for forever and forever and forever. And so when I came to them, they would say to me, Mom, I can see you triggered right now. Do you want to go and process that? And it wasn't like, oh, I need to be a good child. But then my 13-year-old will say, I need space. I'm really triggered. And he'll take himself off to the room to go and deal with his stuff. So they just own their stuff. And it's just a completely different mindset. As teachers, our need to control is on a whole new level. We control things that don't even need to be controlled. That little child who's walking along the corridor and has a spring in their step and goes, woo! What do? We turn around. No, you've got to walk. And what are we doing? We're taking away that child's literally spring in their step. We're taking away the what's that, like impulsive, spontaneous, fun. And we're teaching them that actually you can't just be who you are. And then at the end of the day, I believe, and if there's nothing people take out of this, I just want this one thing to land today. It is that let your children have the lessons, let them bump their heads, let them fall, and then you will be there to guide them and to love them through it. But when you stop them from learning, you are taking away you're disempowering them.
And it's a known fact now that those children who succeed have tripped and fallen and failed and had to get up again. It's not those children who got it easy and had their pathways just put out nicely for them and everything fixed for them. Those are not the people that actually succeed. It's those people that fail and get up again. It's that grit. It's grit. And we need to give the children that.
Absolutely.
Just, I think what's lovely as listening to you now is that you're allowing children to feel without them allowing their feelings to affect other people negatively. And I think that's where the lesson is. When you're saying that child who suddenly goes, whoop, because suddenly children are like that. It's amazing. Some child will walk into school and I'll say hello and compliment their top or something, and the next thing they skip. That is expressing my feeling of I'm feeling good, I'm happy. Now you're told don't skip. Why not? So you need to look at, that, yes, maybe anger is another feeling. How am I going to express that and deal with that feeling, but without it affecting someone else negatively? Instead of squashing all those feelings all the time, which isn't healthy either.
And with the whole GRIT program, I'm very much about specific tools. And I mean, on like an intellectual level, it might make sense what we're talking about. But when you get a specific tool that you can implement into your life, it makes it a lot easier to make it like a tangible thing. And in the beginning, when I realized how controlling I was as a teacher, and I was controlling every single thing, I put something in place where I would literally decide that for 20 minutes a day, I was going to sit on my hands in my classroom. And for 20 minutes, I was just going to let them be kids. So it's not the whole day. It's not. And you know what, Jill? The thing that stood out for me the most was they would have little arguments and they would sort it out for themselves.
Yes.
They would have conversations that they wouldn't have been allowed to have because the noise level would have been too high. And then the one day I still sat and I sat on my hands and I said, okay, now you're going to count how many times you wanted to interfere. And in 20 minutes, I counted 35 times that I was going to jump in and say, no, don't speak to them like that.
Yeah.
Why are you borrowing his glue? You should have your own glue. Like totally just controlling. And there was no issue. He got the glue. They sorted out their own problem. They had a conversation. And we think we're giving up control, but there was no lack of control in the classroom, only learning.
No, and a much happier atmosphere.
So we maybe need to do it in little spouts and then just because I think as a teacher it
would kill 20 minutes. I'm like, wow, 20 minutes. That's sure. I think start off with just like 2 minutes.
And then also you can take a step back after that and you can say, okay, before I react, I'm just going to check in quickly to say, is this something that needs to be controlled? Is this something that needs to be controlled? As opposed to just being on autopilot and literally controlling everything and then stifling their little personalities. So thank you so much. I believe that this work is so powerful and it's for everybody, teachers, parents, principals, children. It really doesn't matter.
It is, yeah. But you and I are seeing the value in this. And I can sit for another hour and tell you more stories of children. I mean, teachers love to talk. We talk a lot. So, but I'll stop there. But I just, there's this sense of, can you imagine? And I get quite excited and passionate about this. That if everybody was able to change their mindset and their beliefs, and their energy, would we change the world?
Oh, that's such an interesting question.
How do we go about getting this out to more people? Because when I did the course, the John Kehoe and then the Robin Banks, I was incredibly excited because suddenly I had this amazing gift and the power of my mind. We think our thoughts just are thoughts, but we control our thoughts. We are in control of how we react. We have so much power up here. And everybody needs to have that power. And I'm so excited about Grit because my thing was always children need this. And you've put this program together where, yes, children are getting it. So imagine if we could reach all the children, what our next generation will be like. But the energy out there will be different. And maybe we could change the world.
Totally.
But we need to think, how do we get it out there? As you say, not just teachers, not just the children, but everybody.
So we are one step ahead of you with that. And with regards to that, people want tangible results. Like you can say to them, okay, so basically their EQ has a direct impact on their IQ and their performance at school, their academics. But they want to see the results. They want to know that my child has improved from here to here, literally on paper. And it's because they were guided and taught and because the GRITS program was implemented.
So they're wanting evidence.
They want evidence. So we have been approached by a school who's really excited to get involved on a whole community level. So they want the teachers, the parents, the children, absolutely everybody to go through the process for us to first go in and to do a whole SWOT analysis on the school to say this is where they're at currently, and then to go in and do the training and then give it a bit of time to properly sink in and then go back in and do the same evaluation, because we need to be able to show that the child who wasn't reading is now reading. Why? Because they believed they could. The child who was struggling with their maths is acing their maths. Why? Because they have an inner belief. The challenge that we have at the moment is, well, it's a little bit of a challenge. I don't see it as a big challenge, is that we're needing funding for this because the school is obviously with COVID, the parents are struggling to pay school fees. There's a lot of research that goes in it, facilitators, there's a lot of money that needs to be. But I believe that the right people will come along. And at the end of the day, once we can show them, okay, this is how powerful this is, because the old mindset is, I just want to see that my child's getting A's and B's academically. Well, your child's academics will improve. We'll show you how. So that is one way. And then, we've got lots of things on the cards, but I agree with you. It has to be a big thing and it needs to be spread if we really want to shift. It can't just be one little school at a time.
Yeah.
But we are so... Thank you. And it really helps to have people like you endorsing it and being on these podcasts with us. So thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I will be in touch. And I just look forward to more of these conversations.
No, thanks, Candice. And sorry for the hiccup earlier, but it's been good to chat as always. We could go on and on. So we'll just have to meet again and I'll share more stories with you.
I really, really hope that you're sorry that my internet went down.
Was it your internet or my internet? I don't know. Was it yours? And I'm no technical expert, so I was like, I don't know what to do.
Thank you so much. But I think we handled it well. We got back on track and we got it together. So thank you. Have an amazing evening.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And you also have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye. So there we go. We roll with the punches and we can't even blame Eskom tonight. Thank you for coming to this podcast and thank you for listening. Please, can you share it with people that you think would benefit? I truly believe that this is the stuff that will impact the lives of people, but ultimately, again, my passion with the children. Have an amazing evening, and I will see you again next week, same time.